Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Seeing Beyond and Through with Monty. Right before you is the late, great Whitney Houston. And today happens to be a milestone because it was 30 years ago today that the Dolly Parton written song, I Will Always Love You, debuted. And I Will Always Love You sold 10 million units in the US alone. And it's certified diamond. And it was number one on every chart in the year of 1993. Now, this is what we should be celebrating about an icon like Whitney Houston. But however, when you become an icon and a legend such as Whitney on that particular level, you have to accept that there's going to be bad that comes with the good. Now, just last week, one of my favorite YouTubers did a video about Whitney Houston. And in this particular video, he brings up accusations again that are unconfirmed, that are unsubstantiated, at least by very viable people who were close to Whitney. And we will get into these accusations in a moment. But we all know Whitney being one of the greatest singing voices of all time. And we know that towards the end of her life, she had her struggles, she had her problems. But it's unfortunate, I think, that it had to be marred by accusations that a family member, her cousin, Dee Dee Warwick, did the unthinkable. And that unthinkable is that she a very young Whitney. And allegedly Whitney's older brother named Gary. Now, we're going to get into these accusations and the reason why I don't believe them. And I'm going to lay out to you as to why I do not believe them. Because this is called Seeing Beyond and Through. And we're going to see beyond and through the BS. And why I believe that it was basically done for profit. But as we go on with the story, if you guys do not know, Dee Dee is the younger sister of Grammy Award-winning artist Dionne Warwick. Both were singers from the famous Drankard family. And Dee Dee had an amazing voice of her own that Dionne even said was better than hers. But for reasons as to we can't really explain, sometimes the most talented one is not necessarily the more marketable one. So Dionne Warwick ended up being the bigger star of the two sisters. And these accusations came to light in a 2018 documentary movie by Kevin McDonald. Now, let me explain to you about these accusations. First off, the movie was completed. It was done, dusted, finished. They went back there to add these allegations. So basically, they had to recall the movie to add more material, which were these allegations. I wonder why at the last moment you would do that. In my opinion, it was to beef it up, make it more scandalous, make it more salacious. Unfortunately, in our society, those types of things sell. And I think they were looking at bonus ticket sales. Now, the reason why I have my doubts about this particular story are a lot of reasons. And the main reasons why I do not believe this particular allegations against Dee Dee is because of this woman here. I want you to take a listen to this.
Robin Crawford was by Whitney's side every step of the way as rumors about them swirled. Everyone knows the tragic story of Whitney Houston, the superstar. But this is the story that no one else knows except you. Why share that story now?
I never envisioned speaking publicly about my life. And then I asked myself the question, what would Whitney want? Would she understand, the time is now?
For the very first time, Crawford is now opening up publicly about their relationship in her new book, A Song for You.
We were intimate on many levels. And all I can say was that it was very deep and we were very
Okay, that's Whitney's longtime friend, personal assistant, who was there from the very beginning of her stardom, Robin Crawford. And Robin Crawford states this, that her and Whitney shared everything. They spoke about everything. And Robin said, if this would have happened, Whitney would have told her. She would have known about it. And she said this about these allegations. Robin Crawford refutes claims that Whitney Houston was M by Dee Dee Warwick. And Robin Crawford says that if Whitney Houston was M by her cousin Dee Dee Warwick, I would have known about it. I have Robin Crawford's book, and she speaks in very detailed. I'm going to tell you a story that may make some of you cringed. She spoke about the first time in which they made love and how they got the sheets bloodied. And let me just tell you guys something. If Robin is going to go into that type of detail, don't you think she would have no problem revealing something like this if this had happened? If Whitney had told her about this? Of all people, the female who's closest to Whitney, or you can say one of the closest people in Whitney's life, Whitney does not tell this to Robin. She doesn't discuss this or disclose this. I find that unbelievable. If anything, this would have been the person who she would have confided in about this. Not some assistant who she barely knows, which we're going to get into this. And Robin goes on to say, Whitney loved Dee Dee. She writes, she was very close to the Warwick family, both before all of her success and during. There you have it. The words of Robin, who I believe above these other people who are coming up. She and I talked a lot about our families. She says in a memoir, she shared everything with me about her family as I did mine. If that was true, I would have known about it. She would have told me. And I 100% believe Robin. Whitney would have told her. Robin would have been the person who she confided in. Robin was the person who she was closest to pretty much from her teenage years on to an extent until her adult years. And I truly believe that what happened with this relationship was that it was a result of Clive Davis not wanting Whitney to have a certain reputation and Whitney's father. That's what I believe that happened with that. And also to Bobby Brown, because Whitney did say that Bobby was very jealous about her relationship with Robin. So I think that it was pressure pretty much from three main sources that pretty much ended the relationship. Now, this is Gary Garland, the older brother of Whitney, who introduced her into drugs. He made a claim that Dee Dee M him. Now, the Ming with him and Whitney happened in a form of supposedly and allegedly fondling. Now, interestingly enough, Gary states that he never seen it, but he believes and he suspected that it happened to Whitney. Now, how can you write in a documentary and how can you make a video with allegations of someone stating that they believe or they suspected that it may have happened to a family member if they didn't see it? That shows right then and there that there's just some trickiness and that you have a motive that's other than the truth and what you want to get out there. And I think the motive that you want to get out there is just scandalous, sensationalism, because you know that sells. You need to amp up the story to have like a darker element or a darker side to a story to kind of get people into the theater. And it's so unfortunate, to be honest with you. Now, Gary's wife, if you believe these people right here, Pat Houston, I've heard so many negative things about her. Claims that Whitney confided in her about that. I don't buy that at all. And we have just an idea. By the way, his name is Gary Garland. His Gary Garland. He's Whitney's half brother. Why is her last name Houston? Why does she go by the name Pat Houston? I'm just curious about that. Was she at Houston before? Is that her actual maiden name? Or did she change it over to attach herself to the Houston family's stardom? But anyway, let's move on. Now, this is another character right here. Mary Jones, who's in the documentary, who, by the way, I've never heard of until the documentary. Supposedly, she was a longtime assistant to Whitney, which I thought Robin Crawford was the assistant. But Mary Jones makes the allegations that Whitney confided into her about this particular issue, or I should say this particular event that allegedly occurred. Now, do you believe that Whitney's going to confide in Mary Jones and Pat Houston and not Robin Crawford? Take your glasses off, people. And Mary Jones, like I said before, Whitney was a star for like 20 years. And I never heard of Mary. And many of you probably have not either until this documentary came out. So where was Mary? Here's another reason why I do not believe this particular incident did occur. Whitney, for all the wrong reasons, was in love with Bobby Brown. In fact, madly in love with Bobby Brown. This is a relationship that many wish would not have happened, that even though Bobby did not get her into drugs, she was using them before they met. Many will say, and I do agree, that he did not help, that he probably made the situation worse. Now, Bobby states that Whitney confided into him that she was bisexual. Okay, if Whitney told him that she was bisexual, I think she would have told him about the so-called M that happened also. It's strange how the man who she was madly in love with, crazy head over heels, she did not confide that to. See where we're going with this right here? The people who she really loves, she kept it from them. She kept it a secret. She did not tell them anything about this alleged incident. But these Mary Joneses, these Pat Houstons, she confided into them. Now remember, she did not confide into her brother Gary. He alleges that because Dee Dee fondled him, he believes that she fondled Whitney also. So this is the reason why I call this allegations to be on shaky ground. It's just not something that I believe at all. I mean, in my opinion, she would have told Bobby about this. And there's another person who I believe she would have told about this particular issue as well. And that being Clive Davis. Clive Davis wrote a book. In this particular book, he does not mention anything about these allegations. And also Clive Davis, I don't think ever spoke about it. Now, we know that Clive Davis was there from the beginning to the very end. And we know that he tried to help Whitney with her substance abuse issues. I believe that Whitney would have confided into him before Pat Houston or Mary Jones. And I believe that Clive Davis would have revealed this. The reason why. I believe that to some degree that he did love Whitney as a daughter figure. And I believe that he would have liked to have used that particular angle, like a lot of us. Remember about the drug issues? We wanted to blame Bobby Brown for Whitney's drug issues. Then it turned out no, she had those issues before she met him. Well, I think that Clive would have probably liked to have believed that maybe one of the reasons why she had these issues is because of this particular traumatic experience that has happened to her in her childhood. But see, he never spoke of it. And he couldn't really use that particular event because people, it probably just did not really happen. And I think that Clive in his book talked about a lot of things. He revealed things about himself. And I believe that he would have definitely revealed that about Whitney because it would not have been her fault. She would have been a victim. And it would have made the public, I mean, I do believe that people are still sympathetic towards her, but those who are very hard to come around, who want to just blame her, would have been even more so. But I will confess this, I'm a great, big Whitney Houston fan. And I truly believe that substance abuse that she had, that she was her own worst enemy. That is something that she really brought upon herself. And I do not believe that you can blame, Bobby for it, for initiating her into that. Did he help? Not at all. So this is the reason why I do not believe this particular story. And Gary Garland, he's a lifelong substance abuse user. I do not know if he's clean. Obviously, I believe that he had ulterior motives, which was to help the movie sell more tickets. Maybe they offered him a bigger percentage of the profits. Maybe to some degree he was jealous of Whitney. He tried for the NBA. I believe he played in the Denver Nuggets for a year. That didn't work out. Then he was a singer in his own right, or background singer. And I believe he had aspirations to be a solo recording artist. That didn't work out. And sometimes siblings can be jealous of each other. So maybe this was an instance where he was jealous of his younger sister. And it seems to me that maybe Sissy, Whitney's father, doted on Whitney more so than him. Because I believe Whitney was younger. And maybe she needed the protection. Maybe she needed the, hands-on love more so than what Gary needed it. Because he was an adult to some degree when she was still a minor. And I believe too that Gary, to some degree, was manipulated by this particular filmmaker who did the movie. Because when you have substance abuse issues, it's kind of easy to manipulate the mind. It's easy to trick you and coerce you. And let's say, like, if it really did happen to Gary, now maybe Dee Dee actually did it to Gary, and he's assuming because it was done to him that it was done to Whitney, and maybe that's what the filmmakers could have manipulated him into believing, and he kind of like went along with it, not having full, cognizant thinking abilities. But that's such a shame that they did it to Dee Dee here. Now, as far as Whitney goes, what happened between her and Gary, who knows? But let me just tell you another reason why I believe that Dee Dee was chosen. Dee Dee was a lot of things. She had a lot of issues. She suffered with depression. She suffered with substance abuse issues. She was a suspected lesbian. And, people, the number one thing right now is that she's dead. This makes her a very easy victim. It makes it much more believable because these particular things that she was and what she suffered from, people just do not have compassion for her. They're not going to give her the benefit of the doubt. She's an easy one to believe did this. Here we have this predatory figure, drug user, lesbian, Those people do that. I'm not saying they do, but I'm saying the minds of people would sit up there and believe that. So what I'm saying about Dee Dee is that she's a very easy target to go after. And if these allegations are so untrue, that is such a tragedy that they done to Dee Dee's name and the family. Because with Dee Dee's depression, her substance abuse issues, I mean, she went through a lot during her lifetime. And keep one thing in mind too. Her sister Dion and her aunt Sissy are still alive. And she has other family members who are alive. This is something that should have been kept buried. It really should have. I'm not for burying secrets of if children are harmed by family members, if they are the M word. But when things are like this, just so unsubstantiated, not just verifiable, you can't prove it, you don't have enough guts to admit it while the person's alive to defend themselves, what's the point of bringing it up? Both parties, the main parties, are gone now. Dee Dee's gone. Whitney's gone. Neither one are here to confirm or deny. So what is the point of bringing this up right now? What is Gary, 60s now? He could have brought this up a long time ago. He could have spoke about this, but he chose the cowardly way, in my opinion, when both the women are deceased now. And as I have stated, I truly believe that the impetus for speaking on this right now, or I should say speaking on what I mean right now, not right now. The movie was made in 2018. This is where the allegations are from. It's just for money, to bring in more sales for the movie, to put seats in the theater. Controversy sells, salaciousness sells, dirt sells. That's all it was for. And Gary, Pat Houston, and the Mary Jones lady, to me, they're not above that. They're the type of figures who would stoop to that particular level. So Whitney, we love you. We will always love you. One of the greatest voices of our time. And I thank God that I was alive to witness the talent of Whitney Houston. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is another edition of Seeing Beyond and Through with Monty. And I will see you all